chance for Prince Harry to make his way back into the working royal fold if perhaps him and Meghan Markle get divorced? What does the coronation picture, the official photo of King Charles and the rest of the working royals, tell us about what's going on behind the scenes? Hello everyone, welcome to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany, and today we are talking about just a couple of things because I had this idea swirling around in my mind as I looked especially at this official coronation picture of all the working royals. Yes, many of them are older, you could say. It looks like Princess Alexandra is being held gingerly by Sophie and Prince Edward, which I think is very, very sweet. But there's something else here that's really, really key. Not only Catherine's gorgeous dress, but how Charles is on the same level as Anne. Anne and her husband, Timothy Lawrence, are standing basically equal with Charles and Camilla. William is there too, but Catherine is actually a step down. And I found this really, really fascinating because I think it tells us so much about where Charles is at and what he's looking for in the future. He is not looking behind him going, oh, poor Harry and Meghan, they're no longer here. No, he has completely moved on. Not in a familial sense, but when it comes to the working royals, Anne is basically Charles's right hand. While that could have been Harry, it's Anne. Anne is the one who is helping Charles navigate this very difficult task that he's on right now, which is trying to modernize the monarchy, but yet not too much, and trying to grow it and continue on the legacy of Her Majesty, yet involve his own things. So it's a very careful balance. And one of the people he's leaning most heavily on, I think, is Princess Anne. And we also see Catherine and Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. They were at the garden party recently for Buckingham Palace, and they've always been close, but you get the sense that they're even closer now. And when you watch Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's documentary on Netflix, what became abundantly clear is that they went on and on and on about the Commonwealth, which they didn't really have to do. Their story did not need to contain anything about the Commonwealth. But you really got the sense that they were pitching the monarchy again, going, you need us to come back because we can represent the Commonwealth because we fit that diversity quota that you need. Meghan Markle, her mother is black, she has this mixed race heritage. You need her to represent the Commonwealth. And when it came to Brexit itself as well, Harry and Meghan, they put on their website that they still wanted to work part-time. They wanted all the perks of royalty and none of the responsibility of it. And the monarchy's like, no. And I think Harry and Meghan, despite what they say, are still in their minds hoping that one day the monarchy turns around and goes, you know what? We can't move forward without Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. But I think the monarchy is just doing fine without them. We have actually some pretty good indications that Charles's coronation was actually a more popular event in some ways than Harry and Meghan's wedding. And so I think Harry and Meghan made the crucial error here yet again. They are just filled with errors. They step on landmines all the time. But I just think this is really interesting to look at, especially looking at the monarchy's future. So we're going to go into a little bit of this today. But if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, like I said, my name is Brittany, and on this channel I provide compelling royal commentary about the latest news and sometimes a little bit of gossip too. In addition, I will be reviewing television shows and movies and sharing a bit about history as well. So if you guys are interested in subscribing, I would love to have you back. I also have a weekly newsletter, Royal Wire, and I do have to apologize to everyone. I've been a bit behind on that, but with traveling and everything, it just became a little bit more difficult, and I didn't have internet for half my flight, and so I just couldn't get it together. So guys, I am going to be working on getting that up again very seriously over here in the next couple weeks. In addition, I also have an upcoming trip to Germany and Austria, and I have a bit of a shorter timeline than I thought to get this trip confirmed. So we will be hanging out in castles in Germany and Austria and traveling out throughout the countryside. And these are some of the most beautiful and magical locations that you can think of. It's just a fairy tale come to life, which it really is, because Neuschwanstein Castle, and I know I'm pronouncing it wrong, was the inspiration for Cinderella's castle in Disney World. So you can check it out, just see how beautiful it is, how incredible it is. The location, you cannot get much better. And then we'll be going to Austria and just basically hanging out at all these gorgeous homes. Most of these royal families are now defunct, but there's some really awesome history and heritage there, and I can't wait for you guys to join me. And then I also have a fashion channel. So if you guys are interested in the best and worst fashion looks of the week, I also have, we'll do some unboxings and share some of the clothing I've got that's actually either royals have worn or is royal inspired. So guys, if you're interested in that, again, feel free to check out that channel as well, and everything is in the link down below. And guys, before I go on, I never did actually get the official like affiliate link, but I still think these are awesome. So if you guys want to get these are Walker's shortbread cookies, and they have special commemorative tins for King Charles's coronation, and they sent me some. I'm like having a trouble getting the right affiliate link, so that's fine though, but because they're still really good, guys. They're still really good. So these are shortbread cookies, and look in the big one. So this is the big one. They have them, and they're usually in jack shapes. They're so good. I love shortbread cookies, especially these came fresh, and so they're better than the ones you'll get in the store. So if you guys are interested in that, I will put a link to these down below, and they have some commemorative for the Queen's death and everything. And so I love shortbread. It is like, oh, they used to have, when I spent a brief period of time in Edinburgh, Scotland, and there was a Burger King, and they had this shortbread, like McFlurry mixing. So they had shortbread pieces, caramel, and chocolate. It was so good. It was so good. I don't know if they still have that at Burger King. Let me know. That was just what, it was like down the street from like where I worked, and so I would end up going there a decent amount. So, and we had shortbread cookies at my office. I'm ashamed to admit I ate way too many of them. So guys, I love shortbread cookies. So if you guys are interested in that, again, I will put the link down below. All right, so guys, looking at these official coronation pictures, one of the things that I think first comes to mind, especially in this group shot you're looking at, it is how great everybody looks, how regal and everything. But like I said in the intro, you notice that Anne and her husband, Timothy Lawrence, are on the same step, the same level as Charles and Camilla and William. Now, in terms of the line of succession, technically Edward is above Anne. By any stretch of the imagination, Anne should be perhaps the lowest of His Majesty's siblings on those steps, except for Andrew, who's not even there anymore. But that's besides the point. But I just found that really, really interesting when you looked at it, because William is there. It should be really William and Catherine who are on the same level, because you have the king and queen, and you have the future king and queen. And so having Princess Anne there, which, not saying that's bad at all, I think that's really awesome, but it's also very, very indicative of something going on, which is that I feel like we're seeing Anne more and more. Her popularity continues to grow, because Anne, guys, she takes no prisoners. She is awesome. Go ahead and take a listen to this little bit here of her describing her own kidnapping attempt, the dry humor and everything. Like, she thwarted her own kidnapping attempt, and she just was awesome. So go ahead and take a listen here.
Remember the discussion? I mean, what did he say?
Well, he said I had to go with him. Can't remember why. I said I didn't think I wanted to go. Thank you very much. I was scrupulously polite, because I thought it was silly to be too rude at that stage again. We had a fairly low-key discussion about the fact that I wasn't going to go anywhere. And wouldn't it be much better if you just went away and we'd all forget about it? The back of my dress split from top to... all the shoulders went out of it. And that was his most dangerous moment. My lady-in-waiting had left. We told her to get out, and she did quite quickly. In fact, she was going to pick up the policeman's gun, but some bossy lady standing on the side told her not to touch it. But I could reach the door handle behind my head, and I opened the door and literally pulled the feet over my head and did a sort of backward somersault onto the road. Waited, because I thought if I was out of the car that he might move. And he did eventually, and he went round the front of the car. I got back in the car and shut the door. The police were there at that stage, and I said, go on, now's your chance. And he then legged it off towards the park, smothered by, I think, the local rugby team.
All right, guys, can you do any better than Anne? She's awesome. And I think Charles is recognizing this as well. Anne, she gets on with it. She puts her head down, she works. Even though she is lowest out of all her siblings in the line of succession, that doesn't define her. Even though she is actually older than Andrew and Edward, that does not define her. Being the spare going down the line of succession, she's like, you know what? I don't care. I love my country. I'm going to serve my brother. I'm going to serve my mother, my father. And you have to give Anne mad props for that. She could be bitter. She could be entitled. But she's really not. She just, I think, is somebody who has great respect for the institution that she represents. And so because of that, I think Charles has recognized her and really has put a lot of faith and leans on her a lot for her vision. And I think too, especially they were some of the first there when Her Majesty died, I think that brought them closer together. And he's realizing how key she is in this whole thing, that even though perhaps her engagements aren't as well covered as Catherine and William's are, or even sometimes his are, that she is somebody who connects with the people. They love her down-to-earth style, and she's just somebody who can go on and kind of grow in this very particular role that she has of the third spare, basically. Even though she was born second, she got bumped down 2 spots. So luckily, that will not happen anymore. Charlotte is actually behind George when it comes to the line of succession. And so even though Catherine and William are very much partners with Charles and Camilla as well, I think Charles, again, is looking to Anne to really exemplify Her Majesty's legacy of duty and service. He said he came to serve, not to be served. And I think Anne represents that in so many ways for the royals. We've also seen this instance where Catherine and Sophie appear very, very close. I know they've always been close, but you get this sense too that, again, they're growing in this relationship with each other, because even though Sophie is 10 plus years older than Catherine, not too much than that, she just turned 50 a couple years ago, Catherine just turned 40, so they're really somewhat close in age, is that they've really been able to develop this deep, close bond, and that they've been able to grow in these roles together, especially as so many things have changed within the royal family. They have spent time together. They know each other really well. Sophie's daughter was in Catherine's weddings. Now, I don't think William and Edward are particularly close, but I think Catherine and Sophie definitely are. And I know that because the two women are close, William and Edward do spend a lot of time together. And we've also seen as well how close William is with his father. So go ahead and take a listen here to a little bit of his speech about his father during the coronation concert.
Pa, we are all so proud of you. And I also want to express my pride and gratitude for the millions of people who serve in the forces, in classrooms, hospital wards, and local communities. I commit myself to serve you all, King, country, and Commonwealth. God save the King.
He praises all the work that Charles has done, and then you see that personal connection. He's also the only one who got up and gave basically an oath of loyalty to his father during his coronation. Now, in the initial perhaps vision of this at one point, there would have been 2 people doing that, William and Harry. In so many ways, what we've seen is the absence of Harry and Meghan, not making the institution weaker, but making the institution stronger. And I have no doubt that was not the intention of Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan wanted the royal family to suffer in their absence and really wanted them to believe that, oh, if they could just invite Harry and Meghan back, that everything would be fine. And I know some of you are thinking, wait, what? Why would that? Don't Harry and Meghan want their own thing? Yes and no. I think there's 2 things that can be true at the same time here. I think, yes, Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan, wants to make as much money as humanly possible off her royal titles and in her desperate pursuit of Hollywood fame and fortune that she believes was denied her as an actress, even though she was not that good, which means she was not that successful. And then it can also be true that because of that royal connection, Meghan and Harry desperately wanted to keep their jobs as working royals. They wanted to travel the world on the government's dime. And the royals had to very clearly, very specifically go, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You cannot be pursuing your own business interests and yet also representing us. Yes, some royals do actually work full-time jobs, for example, Beatrice and Eugenie, and they take on a couple of minor patronages here and there. But there's a very different thing to Harry and Meghan going to royal events and making connections for the sole purpose of not representing the UK, but making money off of it by getting them to invest in whatever Harry and Meghan wanted to. Those are 2 different things. Those are 2 completely different things. And I think the monarchy was very, very wise to really who Meghan was, and that she really wanted to basically take the monarchy and monetize it to her own gain. And they very rightly said, we can't do that. But I think Harry and Meghan, they're still really miffed about this. This still galls them that the royal family was like, you know, I think we'll be okay. And Harry and Meghan are like, oh, But we are so important. Don't you need us? We need it. We fulfill that diversity quota. There's actually been something interesting in Hollywood that's happening. I believe it changes over this year or next year, that when it comes to being nominated for an Academy Award, your film has to fulfill certain diversity requirements. It's very onerous. So that means that you may have to choose a particular person based not on their capabilities, not on their qualifications, not on their skills, but on the color of their skin or how they identify in their sexual orientation. That may mean that the movie suffers because sometimes those things do not result in good quality art. And Richard Dreyfuss actually recently exemplified this as well. What he basically said is that, acting is an art form, making films is an art form. And because it is that, if you're requiring all these metrics into it, the inevitable result is that it no longer is art, it's a product. And now, well, films are that way in a lot of times too. The ones that I think we remember the best are the ones where it's magic, it's chemistry. And Meghan, I think, really thinks in this mentality. She thinks that her skin color is the sole reason why the monarchy should capitulate to her. That her skin color, because she could connect with these people in the Commonwealth based just on her skin color, not that they have any shared actual traditions, heritage, education, background, anything like that. I mean, how many people you could say, and let's pick a Commonwealth country, Kenya, would have in common with Meghan Markle, who grew up in Southern California? Probably not that much. Probably not that much. It's a completely different world. But Meghan is shallow. She's vain. She's vapid. So she thinks because of this, that because of her skin color, she would have been the best representative in the Commonwealth. You almost get the sense in their documentary series that they're pitching again for Harry and Meghan to be part of the monarchy again. They're like, well, you need her. The Commonwealth, it's filled with people of color. Meghan is a person of color. That's just a match made in heaven. We should just make this happen. You just get this sense that they're still desperately clinging to their original Mexit vision. And the monarchy, at the end of the day, decided, you know what? We need to protect ourselves and protect our interests. And we need to tell you no. And I think Harry and Meghan have a really, really hard time accepting that, especially Meghan. Harry, I think, resents it because I think he still wants that connection with his family. Meghan resents it is because she wants the prestige of being royal and being associated with the family without actually doing any of the hard work the family requires. Meghan wanted to go on tours constantly. She wanted to hang out and go on government-funded tours like she did as a royal. But royalty is about diplomacy. Royals, when they go on foreign tours, it's not just for fun. Yes, maybe they have a day or two where they get to relax and they have a little bit of enjoyment out of it. But it's really about representing the United Kingdom abroad and developing close relationships with whatever country they're visiting, whether it is India, Pakistan, Belize, Jamaica, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States. These are all about developing close bonds. It's not about you. It's not about you promoting yourself. It's not about you promoting your business interests. Yes, that is part of it. Catherine and William go in part to, let's say, support Earthshot Prize, support early years. But the bigger, broader implication is we are here to represent the United Kingdom, not ourselves. Meghan just never understood that. And because of that, the monarchy had to say no. And I think you can make the assumption, make the conclusion that this is probably the case because Harry and Meghan's website, Sussex Royal, is still online. It's still there. Why is it there? I think because Meghan and Harry still want it to be true. They still want it to be true. And so they made such a dumb decision to pitch the world their idea without getting anybody else's permission for it, and then are miffed when the monarchy goes, no. I mean, you just gotta laugh because it's like you had no leverage in this situation. There was an article on the Daily Mail recently saying, well, the relationship between Edward and George and William and Harry are echoed together. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're completely different. Number one, Edward was king. Harry will never be king unless something catastrophic happens. So Edward was king, George was a spare. William will be king, Harry was the spare. On that basis alone, Harry has basically no leverage in the situation when he left. I think he was thinking very much in the Edward vein. Well, it's like, well, I was a prince. I was the most popular royal. But guess what? Things change. And even though you were a prince, you were never king. Even for a short period of time, Edward was actually king. He didn't have a coronation, but he was king for about 9 months or so. He didn't even make it a year. And then George ascended the throne. And so that situation is totally different. When you are king, you have leverage because you're leaving. That's hard. It was devastating. If Edward had been the spare, it would still have been hard because people were like, well, that's super weird at the time. But they would have gotten over it. When you're king and you abdicate for a relationship and to pursue your own interests, it's totally different. Completely different. And so he had leverage to demand certain things because he was going to be king and he was going to live this lifestyle. Harry was not. Harry was not in that place to make those demands. And while he was the most popular royal, Meghan seems to take everyone down with her because his popularity has cratered since getting with Meghan Markle. And her popularity, while never high, has also been in the toilet. She's always lower than him. She's always closest to Andrew than anybody else high ranking in the royal family. So Harry and Meghan, I think, thought that his popularity and their belief that because the crowd showed up for a royal, which they generally do, that somehow that meant that she was the future Diana and that they had all this leverage going into Mexit. And they didn't. And then they were told everything they asked for, they were told basically, no. And the royal family made the right decision, I think, to say, well, let's give this a year. If you want to come back, you come back. If you don't, that's fine. But I think in Harry and Meghan's mind, they were thinking, well, we'll have this year break, but we'll see if the monarchy comes back to us, begging us to return because they need us. Well, as it turns out, no, they don't. They really don't need you. Why? Because Charles's coronation was watched by more people in the UK than Harry and Meghan's wedding. More people in the UK watched Charles's coronation than Harry and Meghan's wedding. So Harry and Meghan's wedding, which they cite as this great moment where everybody was like in the thrall of Meghan Markle, it didn't grab as much attention as Charles's coronation. Although Catherine and William's wedding was watched by more people than that, and there's been big debates about whether Harry and Meghan's was watched more around the world or Catherine and William's was. That's not really the point here. The point is that when it came to the UK citizens, the people paying their taxes to support very peripherally the royal family, they chose Charles over Harry and Meghan. They chose Charles over Harry and Meghan. So here's the statistic. So Charles's coronation was watched by 20.4 million people. The wedding of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex was watched by 17.9 million people. Catherine and William's wedding was watched by 24 million people, and the Queen's funeral was watched by 28 million people in the UK. Now, all those statistics to me make sense because the Queen reigned for 70 years. Of course, it would be a huge moment for her funeral. And Catherine and William, they had been dating for so long, and William very much, I think, had more of the public connection with Diana in certain ways because he looked a lot like Diana. He's the future king. She had such a strong bond with him. She treated him basically as her friend, probably inappropriately in some ways because I think William was privy to things that most children should not be privy to in their parents' relationships with other people. So William had this huge connection to the people, and Charles's coronation, 20 million, that would beat Harry and Meghan's wedding, I think it's pretty significant because Charles is not that popular. He's about 50%, I think usually I see in the polls. Catherine and William usually poll 60 to 70%. I think the one that'll break the bank probably is the coronation of Catherine and William, especially if let's say it happens in the next 10 years, their children are teenagers, so they're all growing into their looks, they're about to enter the dating scene and everything, and the interest in that family would be surging. They're cute now as kids. Remember the pandemonium when William was finally that suave and sophisticated teenager college student that he was, and like all the focus went to that. That's what's going to happen with the Waleses. And so I think Catherine and William's coronation will blow everything out of the water. But that Charles, who's not that popular, won out over Harry and Meghan, I think is huge. It's huge there. That tells us that despite Harry and Meghan leaving, despite them dragging their feet and thinking that the royal family is going to change their mind, despite them trying to destroy the royal family when the family didn't go along with what they wanted, the royal family still won. It's still won and still going to win. Harry and Meghan, they just don't have the pull that people think they do. And everything about Harry and Meghan's appeal is connected to the British monarchy. Meghan, if she could have made it as a successful actress, she wouldn't have given two licks about Harry. But she never could. So she had to find somebody to marry to hopefully make that happen. And Harry was the gullible fool who went with the plan. And I think they're finding out in Hollywood that yes, perhaps Harry's book made a lot of money for them. But now they have to hustle all the time. They have to trade off their lives in order to get ahead. And that Harry is being increasingly left behind. And when it comes to the monarchy, when he went to the coronation, he was sat in the back row and you could tell that he felt left out, but you didn't feel, for example, there was something huge missing. You didn't feel that this empty hole where Harry was. I'm sure the family felt that, but us as a public, we saw a united front. We saw power, majesty, we saw regalness, we saw a bit of that fantasy fairy tale aspects that we have connected to monarchy with the robes and everything. And Harry was just there, just hanging out, trying to smile when he could, trying to seem funny, and avoiding that moment when every once in a while the camera would pan to his face and you looked at him and you go, you know you messed this up, didn't you? You know you lost out on so much. And the thing is, the family moved on. Because they had to. They couldn't be there dwelling on the loss of Harry and Meghan. They've just moved on. And we will see the royal family go from strength to strength. Yes, Harry and Meghan will try to tear them down whenever they can because they're very insecure people. And even though Meghan and Harry are making some strides in Hollywood, the basic premise that Meghan was not a very successful actress still holds. So they'll always struggle, I think, to really make their mark because Meghan, if she couldn't make it with her father being a lighting director, being married to a producer, if she could not make it in Hollywood before, the royal title didn't change her talent. If her talent wasn't there to begin with, it's not going to be there now. And the royal family, they're not looking in their rear view mirror. They're looking ahead. They're looking to the future. It's the Waleses. And that's where they're going. So I just found that really, really interesting. So guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of Princess Anne, the warrior princess, and future warrior princess, I should say, Princess Charlotte. Because I think those two will be thick of thieves, and I think Princess Anne will show and demonstrate to Charlotte how to best support your siblings. I think Catherine and William are doing a great job with the kids as well, but I think we'll see Princess Anne too perhaps give some friendly advice to the future Princess Royal about how to exemplify this role of being the spare in a productive, healthy way, and being able to serve your family without having this burden and this chip of not being the king. So guys, let me know again what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.